Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We're looking at a pretty nice Wednesday night slate here after just a small two-gamer on Tuesday night. In this one, we are going to be looking at the Memphis Grizzlies, maybe the best team in the NBA right now, taking on the Milwaukee Bucks, who are struggling mightily without Jrue Holiday. Be taking a look at some of the best bets in this one. Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page. You can check out the other couple of videos we have for you today, including a player props video where we will be giving you guys a gift card opportunity. And you do need to be liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible to win that. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, interesting you say that because I wrote the power rankings last week. Put Memphis 2, put Brooklyn 1, and then KD announced out for 4 to 6 weeks the next day. Probably would have flipped that. I mean, probably would have moved Brooklyn way down, honestly. But yeah, I think the Grizzlies are the best team in the NBA as we stand right now. With Draymond out. And anyway, they open at plus 6.5 here. It's already been bet down to plus 5.5. It'll probably be closer to a pick 'em by the time it closes because that's just an incorrect line. Memphis should not be getting points anywhere, and let alone at a Bucks team that's struggling, lost 6 of their last 8. The total's rising as well, up to 229 as we speak, and I definitely like the under there. There's a lot to like about this game as the lines are currently set. We will go through the other games here on this full slate, though. The Nets are -1 at the Wizards with a total rising rapidly to 235 there. Magic plus 12 at the Sixers. The Wolves on a back-to-back are plus 2 at the Hawks. Hornets plus 3.5 at the Celtics, who are trying to right that ship. Blazers continue their struggles, plus 10 at the Heat. The Cavs are -2.5 at the struggling Bulls. The Raptors plus 4 at the Mavs. Thunder plus 7.5 at Spurs. Rockets plus 13 at Jazz. Clippers plus 7.5 at Nuggets. Pistons plus 7 at Kings. And then the other game we will break down for you is the Pacers plus 5 at the Lakers, with that total slowly creeping up as well. Whew, that is a full slate, Josh, after we got a light night on Tuesday. And looking at Memphis, though, this would be my preferred bet of the night, just to grab those points. If you can, grab them near plus 200 on the money line. I think the best way to get some juice out of this is to take Memphis on the spread with the under, because they're fantastic at defending the paint and very good at defending the three-point line. And Milwaukee is absolutely dependent on threes right now. They're scoring the second highest percentage of points off threes. Without Jrue Holiday, their offense has plummeted. They're now 4-9 straight up without Jrue, scoring 9 points per game fewer, with an offensive rating that is 10 points worse per 100 possessions. They've lost 6 of their last 8, as I mentioned. They do have some high-profile wins sprinkled in there, in which Giannis really asserted his will down low, but Memphis is not the type of team that's just going to give it up in the paint with Steven Adams down there if they need, but really with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark showing amazing progress as switchable and athletic and versatile defenders, the exact type of guys you need in the NBA to deal with somebody like Giannis. And Memphis's 3-point defense, they're top 10 over the last couple months. I mean, this their whole turnaround, the fact they're 11-1 over their last 12 and had a winning streak even with Ja out, has been predicated on defense. They went from 30th to about 6th in defensive rating. And every time they probably look at these spreads, because every time they're underdogs on the road, they come out and just handle business. 15-5 against the spread this year on the road, and 25-14 as road dogs since last year. As much as you respect Giannis and his ability to make statements, by beating the Warriors and Nets, et cetera, I think Ja Morant is on the same boat. The key here, Desmond Bane and Kyle Anderson are ruled out due to COVID protocols. Bane is a big loss in this spot. I don't think Kyle Anderson matters at all. The Grizzlies have so much depth at that position, and he's really not the kind of guy you want out there against the Bucks, I think, just based on the way he plays. Anyway, the point is the loss of Jrue Holiday, if he's not able to play through that ankle injury, he's missed 6 straight games, is much bigger for Milwaukee. They don't have the same depth as Memphis. I mean, Memphis is just an incredible next man up mentality where they've been able to offset any issue like that. And Bane being out hurts. I think it really helps if you're betting the under, but it hurts Memphis a little bit. And I think that's why we have the spread where it is, but I still trust them to cover this.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. I mean, my first, the only reason I would be hesitant to pick Memphis, and I'm not, by the way, but I'm just saying if I were to be, then that would be strictly because of what, Giannis and the Bucks seem to have done in their last 8 when they play two of the best teams in the league. They beat the Nets, they beat the Warriors, they pounded them both, beating the Dubs by 19, the Nets by 12. And those are the two best teams they played in this 8-game stretch where they've been really, really bad, even without Drew Holiday. That being said, Memphis is not struggling the same way that Golden State was in the midst of that loss to Milwaukee. And similarly with Brooklyn, who had a couple bad losses in that time frame, even before KD went down, as you mentioned. So you ask how could the Bucks pull this one out and win by 5 to 6 points? And the answer is Giannis goes for 40, 10, and 10. And I don't know that even if he does that right now, he's not getting the help around him. I mean, even when, you talk about Drew being out, but then you've also got Dante DiVincenzo, Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton. Those guys have missed a few games in the last 8 as well. And so, Chris Middleton has been a little bit better as of late, but, still having definitely a down year for him. And, what Milwaukee does well, Memphis defends well. What Milwaukee doesn't do well, Memphis doesn't really defend well. It doesn't really matter, right? Everywhere that the strengths are for Memphis, they match up very well with Milwaukee. Milwaukee needs to score threes. They've in their 8 games that they've been struggling as of late. They're shooting almost 50% of their shots from 3-point. I mean, 47% far and away the tops in the league in that time frame. Memphis on the season hasn't been very good against the 3 at 26th on the season in opponent 3-point percentage, but in their last 8, in their last 8 specifically, as well as what Milwaukee's been doing from 3. Memphis is 6th in opponent 3-point percentage over that time, and they've definitely been stepping it up. They're also dropping a bunch of points in the paint. We know where Memphis likes to score. Ja gets into the lane, or John company get out on fast break. They are the best transition team in the league in terms of scoring off of fast break points, combined with scoring off of their opponents' turnovers as well. And Milwaukee is allowing too many turnovers. They're allowing too many steals to their opponents right now, and not taking care of the ball in a way that's exactly what Memphis likes to do. And that's honestly the margin where I've seen Memphis win these games against not better teams, but teams that are considered tops in the league right now. Memphis is winning by outscoring them on fast break points, transition points, winning the steal and turnover margin as well, and not necessarily assists, but definitely the steal margin there, and not turning it over nearly as much as their opponents. And that's why they're winning these games, and especially on the road, like you said, 10-4 against the spread as road dogs. Milwaukee 6-12 against the spread as home favorites this year. It's been a very fluky year in terms of teams like Milwaukee not being as good at home. Philadelphia is another example, not as good at home this year as they've been historically, where once you see Philly at home, you just go, well, just take the money line because they're going to win the game. And same with Milwaukee as of late, and not the case this season, which is something that is pretty annoying because we could bank on that a lot last season, especially against bad teams and good teams when they came to play. But that hasn't been the case this year. And like we were saying about their last 8, they've just dropped too far in all the categories that matter. Like I said, in terms of they're just relying too heavily on that 3-point shot if Giannis isn't getting his down low. And I think you do look for Steven Adams and company to hold theirs down low a bit, enough for them to easily cover 6 points, in my opinion, and feel pretty good about sprinkling some on the money line there as well if you want to get a bit more juice there.
Yeah, the Grizzlies have won 2 of their last 3 against Memphis. Giannis does not have overwhelming numbers in those games. And you look at his career, 20.6 points per game in 15 meetings with the grit and grind Grizz, that's got to be one of the lowest averages he has against any team. So the idea of him just carrying them with 40 points seems a little unlikely. The more I talk about it, the more I just love the under in this game because, the Bucks, I mean, Drew might still play, but those guys being in and out, Connaughton, DiVincenzo, it's just such a rhythm issue for the Bucks. They are not overwhelming anyone offensively except the Hawks. They were able to go over for the first time in their last 5 games because the Hawks are the worst defensive team in the new year here, but that they still lost the game and they did not get, they scored 114 in that one. So not necessarily what you would need to get this game over, but more, they're just not covering at home. Pretty similar to a team like the Lakers or the Nets, that just the projection is a lot greater than their actual performance at home right now. It was a delayed finals last season going deep into July. They are tired and they're dealing with a lot of key injuries all season. That's why they're 6-12 against the spread as that home favorite. And the numbers for Memphis are just overwhelming, that when they're road dogs, they don't lose much. And when they lose, it's by an average of 0.6 points per game. Their one loss in those last 3 against Milwaukee is by 1 point. So you can feel very good about getting some points here with Memphis, about juicing that with the under, in my opinion. I think you can get some great odds there. Just take the under. There's just so many ways to bet on this that I think several of them are going to hit in terms of Grizzlies money line, under, spread, and all that. Yeah. No, I'm with it. I would say, also something interesting is my initial thought too was stars in this game are going to go off in terms of Giannis and Ja, but and that would make me scared of the under a bit. But as you mentioned, Giannis's numbers, pedestrian for Giannis against Memphis historically, even dating back to last season or the past couple seasons. I mean, in his last 3, he has averaged about 27 points, 11 boards, and 6 assists or so, giving his average of, PRA right around about 47, 48. But, still like in this one as well, with Memphis upping their defense in the correct spots that they need, not allowing points in the paint at the rate that they do. And then also their ability to guard the 3 a lot more. I do feel good about it. But on the other side of the ball, Ja Morant hasn't historically been as good against the Bucks as well, dating back to a couple seasons ago, averaging about 20 and 8 with about 5 boards in that time frame as well, which, good numbers, 33 points, rebounds, and assists combined averaging. But at the same time, for Ja, and the way that he's sort of taken off this season, it's not quite the same. I'm not sitting here telling anyone to bet unders on these 2 guys. I'm just letting you know that I feel good about the under as well, just because of the 2, sort of key engines on offense for both teams don't historically have the best numbers in these defensive matchups. So either way, I think that the Grizz are just, I don't know why they're getting disrespected like this. I guess Desmond Bane being out is going to be a big deal. He's a great player. But as we mentioned, this is the deepest team in the league and probably the best roster for a regular season, and missing guys on random nights like tonight. So would still feel really, really good about Memphis and Ja covering this one tonight. And that is all the time we have for you on this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed. Got a couple other videos up for you today, including that player props video with a gift card opportunity. So until we see you next, happy betting.